The hip-hop world woke up to chaos this morning and no one saw it coming. JID, Atlanta's razor-tongued lyrical prodigy, has just made the kind of move that fans are calling career-defining and dangerously bold. Out of nowhere, he stepped straight into the middle of the simmering Cold War between rap legends, Clipse and the ever-mysterious Kendrick Lamar. And sources say it's about to turn nuclear. It started with whispers, a leaked verse here, a cryptic Instagram post there. But last night, those whispers turned into a full-on explosion. Industry insiders claim JID didn't just join the feud, he lit the match that might burn it all down. Behind closed doors, accusations are flying, alliances are crumbling, and old friendships are being tested in ways no one thought possible. One camp is calling him a loyal soldier, the other a calculated traitor. And then there's the album. Oh, yes, the album. Fans say it's more than music. It's a declaration of war. The beats are lethal, the bars are razor sharp, and the subliminals, let's just say they aren't so sub anymore. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll never look at JID Clipse or Kendrick the same way again. The night it all began wasn't some glitzy red carpet or big award show. No, it was way more intimate and way more dangerous. A private listening party in Atlanta, dimly lit, the air thick with tension and bass so heavy it made your chest rattle. JID had been quiet for weeks, almost too quiet, and fans were starting to wonder if he'd been cooking something in the shadows. Turns out he had, and it was about to shock the entire hip-hop community. Close. Friends say JID walked into that room like a man on a mission. No smile, no small talk, just a subtle nod to the DJ before the first track dropped. And when it did, jaws hit the floor. The beat was dark, almost menacing, and the first few bars were like warning shots. People exchanged looks. Whispers filled the corners of the room. Is he talking about Pusha? Someone muttered, wide-eyed. Another voice whispered, nah, this is bigger. He's calling out Kendrick too. It wasn't a diss track in the traditional sense, so there were no names dropped outright. But the wordplay, the double entendres, they painted a picture so vivid. You didn't need the names, you could feel exactly who he was talking to. One line in particular sent a shockwave through the crowd. Two kings fighting over a crown I never asked for. But since you left it on my head, I'll wear it until it bends. People froze. That was no accident. That was a shot straight into the heart of a brewing lyrical war. From the back of the room, a figure everyone recognized slipped out quietly, a longtime affiliate of the Clipse camp. Another man, tied closely to Kendrick's TID circle, was suddenly on his phone, texting furiously. The energy shifted from excitement to pure electric danger. After the third track, JID stepped away from the mic and addressed the room in a tone so calm it was chilling. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to tell my truth. If that truth burns bridges, then let it burn. I'll swim in the ashes. His eyes scanned the crowd, daring anyone to speak. No one did, but what happened after the listening party is what truly set things in motion. A snippet of the session line leaked online within hours. Nobody knew who leaked it, but within minutes, Twitter was on fire. Fans were dissecting every syllable, debating whether JID had just declared himself the heir to a throne. Neither Clipse nor Kendrick were willing to give up. That morning, a cryptic tweet appeared from Push's account. Funny how some young cats think they invented war. No tags, no emojis, just cold steel in text form. Kendrick stayed silent publicly, but sources say he was on the phone with at least 3 producers that night, rearranging his recording schedule. The quiet from his camp was almost scarier than Push's open jab.JID, meanwhile, played it cool. He posted a picture on Instagram of a chessboard mid-game, a black queen knocked over and no caption. The comments section exploded. Is that Kendrick? Nah, that's Push's queen, you can tell. Bros starting World War III in hip-hop. The speculation was endless, and JID seemed to thrive on it. Friends close to JID told us that this wasn't just about music. It was personal. Apparently, there'd been a behind-the-scenes meeting months earlier where Kendrick and Clipse were both in talks to collaborate on a high-profile project. One that JID had been quietly invited to. But when the dust settled, JID was cut out. Without explanation, number calls, no texts, nothing. Just silence. And when he finally found out why, let's just say betrayal doesn't even begin to cover it. According to one insider, JID was told that his style was too unpredictable for the direction they were going. But what he heard was, "You're not on our level." That lit a fire in him, and now he's showing them exactly what his level is. But this wasn't just an industry rivalry. It bled into personal relationships too. JID's longtime producer, who had also worked with Pusha in the past, was suddenly caught in the middle. One late-night phone call reportedly ended with shouting, slam doors, and a studio session being canceled last minute. As all of this unfolded, fans weren't just watching, they were picking sides. Hashtags started trending. Hashtag Team JID. Hashtag Team Clipse. Hashtag Kendrick Forever. Fan-made diss tracks began popping up on SoundCloud, with amateur rappers trying to add fuel to the fire. It was like the internet had turned into one giant coliseum. And the crowd was thirsty for blood by the end of that week. JID had gone from respected lyricist to central figure in what people were calling the most unpredictable rap war of the decade. And the craziest part, the album still hadn't dropped. Then came the first twist no one expected. An anonymous email was sent to several hip-hop blogs containing a voice recording. In it, a man who sounded very much like Kendrick could be heard saying, "If JID wants smoke, he'll get it. But he better not forget who opened the door for him in the first place." The authenticity of the recording was never confirmed. But that didn't matter. Fans believed it. JID responded less than 24 hours later in the most JID way possible. He went live on Instagram. No flashy backdrop, just him in a dimly lit room sipping tea and grinning. "Y'all hear that? Sounds like somebody's scared," he said before hitting play on a new snippet that was even more incendiary than the last dot. And just like that, the tension went from a low simmer to a full boil. That night, Pusha was spotted at a recording studio in New York with a very familiar face, a producer known for crafting some of the most brutal diss tracks in rap history. Fans connected the dots instantly. If Pusha was in the lab, something lethal was being cooked. Meanwhile, Kendrick's silence became its own weapon. His fans insisted he was playing chess, not checkers, that he'd drop something so calculated it would silence everyone. JID's supporters claimed Kendrick's silence was proof he'd been blindsided and needed time to regroup. The debate raged on, but while the internet was busy arguing, something even more dramatic was happening behind the scenes, and it involved a betrayal JID never saw coming. And that is where the story takes its next dangerous turn. The betrayal came from inside his own circle. 2 nights after Pusha was spotted in that New York studio, JID's trusted producer, the one who had been with him since his early mixtape days, suddenly flew to Virginia. No public announcement, no explanation. At first, fans thought maybe it was unrelated. But then a blurry photo surfaced online. The producer sitting in a cafe across from Malice. One half of Clipse, deep in conversation. When JID saw the picture, sources say he didn't even finish reading the caption before smashing his phone down on the table. "After everything, after all the work we put in, this is how you do me," he reportedly shouted at the handful of people in the studio that night. One friend described the look in his eyes as a mix of heartbreak and pure, cold rage. It wasn't just the meeting, it was the timing. With tensions at an all-time high, that kind of move felt like a statement. A very public, very personal statement. Word spread fast. Fans began accusing the producer of being a double agent, of secretly feeding information to the Clipse camp. Threads exploded on Reddit. People were digging through old interviews, searching for clues they might have missed. One fan even posted a slowdown reversed clip from a past JID song, claiming there was a subliminal diss aimed at his own team. JID kept silent publicly for 3 days. When he finally broke it, it was with a single tweet. "Loyalty is a language. Some people will never speak." No emojis, no tags, just that. Meanwhile, Pusha and Malice were playing the long game. A mysterious countdown clock appeared on their official website, set to end in exactly 7 days. Fans speculated it was a new single, maybe even a diss track. Others wondered if it was a teaser for a joint project. But one thing was certain: whatever was coming was aimed directly at JID. Behind closed doors, Kendrick was facing his own storm. Word had reached him that JID's new album, still unreleased, featured a verse that many in Kendrick's camp considered a direct personal attack. It wasn't just lyrical competition. It was a wound to his legacy. "He thinks he can stand next to me already." Kendrick reportedly told a close friend during a late-night conversation, "Let him try. I'll show him what that really looks like." But Kendrick's moves were calculated. Instead of rushing into the studio with a hastily made diss, he began calling in favors. Producers from Atlanta, engineers from London, even a ghostwriter from Law, who was rumored to have worked on some of the most venomous bars in modern rap. Kendrick wasn't just preparing a song, he was preparing a strike. JID's camp, already fractured by the producer betrayal, scrambled to keep things together. But then came another twist that turned everything upside down. A week before the Clipse countdown ended, an anonymous package arrived at JID's studio. Inside was a USB drive, unlabeled. Plugged into a laptop, it contained a single MP3 file titled Ashes. The beat was unmistakable, a rework of one of JID's own, unreleased instrumentals but with new vocals layered over it. And those vocals? They were PUSH as dot in the track. Push's voice was sharp, deliberate, every syllable dripping with controlled fury. "You wrote your story on my paper, then tried to sign it in your name." He rapped a line that instantly felt like a knife to the chest. By the second verse, it was clear this wasn't just a diss, it was a declaration. Pusha was saying JID's entire style was borrowed, that his rise had been built on foundations laid by others. JID's single quotes S team was stunned. No one could figure out how Pusha had gotten hold of the beat. Some accused the producer who met with Malice. Others suggested a hack. But JID, he didn't speak. He just sat there, listening to the track on repeat, his face unreadable dot. When he finally did speak, it was to say, if they want war, they're gonna get one they can't survive. From that moment, the studio turned into a war room. Late nights bled into early mornings. Walls were covered in scribbled lyric sheets. Beats looped endlessly in the background. JID was rewriting verses over and over, determined to hit back with something that wouldn't just match the attack, it would overshadow it completely. Meanwhile, fans were growing restless. The internet was in chaos, with theories flying left and right. Some believed Kendrick was secretly working with Clipse to take JID down. Others thought JID was orchestrating the whole thing as an elaborate publicity stunt for his album. Hashtags like #GDV's World and #The Lyrical War were trending daily. The pressure was building. And then, just when everyone thought the next move would come from JID, Kendrick made his first public appearance since the drama began. It was at a charity basketball game in LA, but the real headline wasn't the event, it was Kendrick's hoodie. Across the front in bold black letters, it read, "Ashes to Ashes." Fans lost their minds. Was Kendrick aligning himself with Pusha? Was this a subtle nod to the leaked track? The hoodie became an instant meme, with people photoshopping JID's face onto the Ashes text and flooding timelines. Back in Atlanta, JID saw the images. Witnesses say he laughed at first, a short, bitter laugh. But then he told his engineer, Pull Up, track 5. What played next was a song so blistering, so surgical in its precision, that the engineer reportedly had to pause halfway through just to process what he'd heard. And that's when JID decided no more waiting, no more cryptic posts. He would drop his album in less than 48 hours, no warning, no build-up. If they wanted a war, he would make sure it happened on his terms. The announcement came via a single Instagram story, a plain black background with the words, "Midnight. Be ready." Nothing else. The internet erupted. Fans cleared their schedules, rumors flew, and every hip-hop outlet prepared for the storm. But just before midnight, something happened that none of them, not JID, not Clipse, not Kendrick, saw coming. 2 hours before JID's midnight drop, the internet went dark. Not literally, but for JID's team, it might as well have been. Every major streaming platform suddenly showed an error loading message when you tried to access his album pre-save page. His label contacts were unreachable. His Instagram was temporarily disabled. The chaos was instant. In the studio, JID was pacing like a caged animal. "Don't tell me this is a coincidence," he snapped at his manager, who was frantically on the phone with their distributor. "Somebody's pulling strings. They're scared of what's coming." Then, as if to add gasoline to the fire, a new track appeared on SoundCloud, uploaded from an anonymous account, but everyone knew exactly who it was aimed at. The title? Midnight Funeral. The voice. Unmistakably, Kendrick. Over a haunting, minimal beat, Kendrick's delivery was cold, each line like a calculated strike. "You sharpen your tongue, but you borrowed the blade," he rapped in the first verse, a clear echo of Push's earlier accusation. In the second verse, the shots got more personal. "You traded your brothers for 24 bars. Now you're the king of a kingdom with no walls." JID's team listened in stunned silence. He didn't say a word until the track ended. Then he whispered, "He dropped this now to kill the drop. He wants me to panic." But JID didn't panic. He disappeared into the booth. No one was allowed inside except his engineer. 35 minutes later, he emerged with a look that could freeze steel. "This is the opener now," he said. "We're changing the track order. We start with Blood." As the clock ticked closer to midnight, fans were split between listening to Kendrick's Midnight Funeral on repeat and waiting for JID's album to land. Twitter was a battlefield of quotes, memes, and predictions. Some swore Kendrick had already won. Others said JID was about to rewrite the rulebook. But just when the countdown hit 1 minute, it happened. Instead of JID's album, every streaming platform was suddenly flooded with a completely different release. A surprise joint track from Clipse and Kendrick titled "Ashes Never Die." The song was explosive. Pusha and Malice's verses were pure venom, painting JID as an ungrateful upstart who owed his entire career to doors they claimed to have opened. Kendrick's verse came last, and it was almost cinematic quiet at first, then building into a crescendo of layered wordplay and haunting imagery. "You wanted war but forgot the weather. I'm the storm and the drought both together." He rapped before the beat cut out entirely, leaving only the sound of a match being struck. The industry reaction was immediate. Blogs declared it a preemptive strike meant to bury JID's project before it could breathe. Radio hosts debated whether it was the most ruthless, coordinated move in recent rap history. Fans flooded JID's comments demanding he respond. In the studio, JID sat in silence for nearly 5 full minutes after hearing the track. Then he stood up, walked to the mic, and without saying a word, began recording. Witnesses say what came out of that session wasn't just a diss, it was a scorched earth policy. He didn't just aim at Kendrick and Clipse. He went after the betrayal from his producer, the industry gatekeepers who shut him out, even nameless rappers who'd tried to ride the wave of the beef for clout. Every bar felt like it had been sharpened to a point, ready to pierce straight through reputations. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, JID's label was in full crisis mode. They claimed they had nothing to do with the streaming blackout, but couldn't explain how it had happened. Conspiracy theories ran wild. Some said it was Kendrick's label, flexing its industry connections. Others believed it was a coordinated hack from a rogue group of fans loyal to Clipse. But the strangest part, hours after Ash's Never Die dropped, Pusha posted a cryptic Instagram story, a photo of a dinner table set for three, with the caption, "Family Business." The image sent the internet into overdrive. Was this a hint that Kendrick, Pusha, and Malice were officially joining forces? And if so, what did that mean for JID's chances? JID, however, was past caring about optics. They made it personal. He told a friend in a late-night call that was later leaked online. Now, it's not about who's the best. It's about who's left standing. The next morning, JID dropped a 10-second teaser clip on his socials. It was just a close-up of his hand flipping through a notebook filled with crossed-out verses. Then stopping on one line, "When the ashes settle, only the fire remains." The video ended with the sound of a gun cocking. Fans lost it. The anticipation was now at a fever pitch. Online debates turned into full-blown digital riots, with people claiming they'd camped out on streaming sites waiting for JID to finally release the full project. But JID wasn't in a rush anymore. He had a new plan. Instead of dropping the JID album immediately, he decided to release one track a day for a week, each one a direct response to a different target. Day 1 would address Kendrick. Day 2, Clipse. Day 3, the producer betrayal, and so on. It was the kind of move that could either cement him as a genius or bury him entirely if the songs didn't land. Kendrick's camp, according to insiders, was caught off guard by this strategy. They'd expected JID to try to overwhelm them with one big drop, not stretch the drama into a week-long saga. It's trying to bleed us out. One member of Kendrick's team was overheard saying, "Pusha." Hun, the other hand, seemed unfazed. He posted a video of himself in the studio, smirking, with the caption, "Patience is a weapon too." And while both camps were recalculating their moves, the fans had already turned this into something bigger than any of them. Streetwear brands started making merch with slogans from the beef. YouTubers were doing hour-long breakdowns of each verse. Even mainstream news outlets began covering it as a cultural event. But JID's inner circle knew something no one else did. Track 1 of his week-long drop wasn't just a diss. It contained a piece of information so explosive, so damaging, that if it was true, it could fracture Kendrick and Clipse's alliance before it even solidified. And when midnight came on day 1, that truth came out. Midnight hit and the world hit play. The track was called "Broken Chains," and from the first eerie note, you could feel it wasn't just another lyrical jab. JID's delivery was calm, almost conversational. But every word dripped with venom. Halfway through the first verse, he dropped the line that stopped everyone cold. "You broke bread with the man who ghostwrote your crown." The room in which fans were live streaming their reactions went silent. The implication was massive. JID was claiming that one of Kendrick's most celebrated verses, the one that earned him legendary status, hadn't even been written by Kendrick himself. And then came the twist within the twist. JID didn't just make the claim, he played a short, distorted audio clip of a voice that didn't sound like Kendrick at all, reciting an early draft of that same verse. The voice sounded eerily like Malice from Clipse. Social media detonated instantly. What JID was hinting at was true. Then not only had Kendrick allegedly used a ghostwriter, but it was one of his supposed allies in this war who'd penned it. Threads exploded on Reddit and hip-hop forums, dissecting the clip, comparing vocal patterns, analyzing breathing pauses like it was a crime scene. Kendrick's camp responded within an hour, denying the accusation outright. Fabricated audio. Desperate tactics. Read the statement. Pusha and Malice stayed silent. But that silence was louder than any denial. Fans started speculating, had JID just planted a seed of mistrust between Kendrick and Clipse? If Malice had indeed written that verse, why was Kendrick teaming up with him now? And if it wasn't true, why weren't Pusha and Malice rushing to defend Kendrick's honor? The next day, track 2 dropped. This one, titled Traitor's Prayer, was aimed directly at the producer who had met with Malice. JID's verses were brutal, not just lyrically, but emotionally. He rapped about nights they'd spent together building his sound from scratch, about the promises they'd made to never sell each other out. "You've sold my secrets for studio time," he spat. The kind of line that sticks in the chest like a splinter. The track ended with a voicemail, the actual voice of the producer, recorded months earlier, telling JID, "We're in this for life, bro, no matter what." The juxtaposition was devastating. Fans began flooding the producer's socials with snake emojis, forcing him to disable comments. By day 3, the tension was unbearable. People were lining up at record stores just to grab physical copies of each day's release. Hip-hop media was calling it a 7-day siege. Kendrick's camp was rumored to be preparing a full-length response album. But insiders said the Broken Chains verse had caused serious internal arguments. And then on day 4, JID went nuclear. The track was called Family Photos, and it was aimed squarely at Pusha and Malice. The song painted a vivid picture of private moments, dinners, studio sessions, backroom deals that no outsiders should have known about. JID described conversations with such detail that fans began asking if he'd bugged their studio in one verse. He rapped, "You smile for the camera, but I've seen the ledger. Blood ain't thicker than the ink on a check," which was a direct shot at the brothers' relationship. Hinting at financial disputes and betrayals within their own family, Pusha finally broke his silence that night, posting a single sentence on Twitter: "You just crossed a line you can't come back from." No hashtags, no links, just that. The following day, Kendrick emerged publicly for the first time since Broken Chains dropped. At a small pop-up concert in LA, he performed Midnight Funeral, but at the end, he freestyled a new verse that was clearly aimed at JID. "Truth ain't truth if it's dressed in disguise. And fear makes a poet forget how to rise," he rapped. Before dropping the mic and walking off stage, still, the damage was done. Rumors swirled that Kendrick had privately confronted Malice about the ghostwriting claim. Insiders claimed their conversation didn't end well. On day 6, JID released Final Sermon, a track that didn't name anyone directly but felt like a burial. It was slower, more introspective, weaving together the betrayals, the accusations, and the weight of fighting against not one, but 2 rap giants at once. He ended it with a chilling whisper: "Day 7 is not for them, it's for you." No one knew what that meant until day 7 came. Instead of another diss track, JID dropped a short film. It opened with him walking alone through a burnt-out warehouse, his voice narrating over the sound of dripping water. "Wars don't end when the smoke clears," he said. "They end when someone decides to stop fighting." The film cut to footage of real fans, some wearing #Team JID shirts, others holding posters of Kendrick and Clipse, all sitting at the same table, laughing and sharing food. It was a stark contrast to the venom of the previous 6 days. And then, in the final shot, JID looked straight into the camera and said, "The album's still coming. But first, I need you to understand this isn't about winning, it's about surviving." Fans were stunned. Was this a truce? A mind game? Or was JID trying to take the moral high ground just before delivering his biggest strike yet? Kendrick and Clipse didn't respond immediately. Their silence left a vacuum. And in that space, the speculation became its own wildfire. Some believed JID had managed to fracture their alliance. Others thought they were regrouping for one last coordinated attack. But one thing was certain. In just 7 days, JID had transformed from an underdog lyricist into the central figure of the most gripping rap saga in years. Whether he'd won or not didn't even matter anymore. The world was watching, waiting for the next move. And in the game of hip-hop chess, JID was now playing for keeps. And the craziest part? The real album hadn't even dropped yet. So here we are. 7 days, countless verses, and a storm of accusations. Later, and still, no one knows exactly where this war is headed. JID has fired shots that shook the foundation of two rap legends. Clipse and Kendrick have countered with blows that could flatten a lesser artist. And yet, instead of crumbling, JID has only grown louder, sharper, and more dangerous. The ghostwriting allegation still hangs in the air like a storm cloud, unanswered and unresolved. The betrayal from JID's own producer remains a wound that fans won't stop reopening. And somewhere in the shadows, Kendrick and Clipse may be planning something even more devastating. The silence from their camps is deafening. And you can't help but wonder, are they regrouping or are they letting JID walk right into a trap? The only thing we know for sure is that the album, the real album, is still out there. Loaded, waiting, and when it drops, it might not just end this war. It might rewrite hip-hop history. But what about you? Where do you stand in this fight? Are you riding with JID as he takes on giants with nothing but his pen and his pride? Or are